All right, morning all, and Shadow's decided it's time for me to carry him today. So this is when you get a kitten and you decide it's really cute to carry it all around the house. Eventually, it looks like this because they don't stop expecting that. So there's just a warning when you get a cute little kitten. You're like, look, I can carry it everywhere. Yeah, full-grown cat still expecting to be carried everywhere. All right, so let's discuss the news of the day. There's a lot to get to. And honestly, we'll see how this goes. Hutchinson's on waivers. This is to be expected. Freddie Anderson's back. I would expect him to clear. I say that kind of because with Hutchinson, he has played better lately. There may be a team in the NHL. I'm looking at New Jersey. Yeah, hi Shadow. I'm looking at New Jersey and seeing a team that might see him as an upgrade on Louis Domingue. They might. Not saying that they do or that they would, but they might. That's the one that I can think of. And we'll see what happens. We'll see if he ends up going to the AHL. Zdeno Chara. This is where the controversy starts in this video. Zdeno Chara has been fined $5,000 for the cross-check on Gallagher, as expected. If you look at the replay, he's going for a cross-check to the chest. The stick rides up, ends up hitting Gallagher in the neck, or doesn't. That's the debate. People are like, oh, did it actually connect? Look, if Chara's stick's coming near my neck, I'm throwing my head back a little bit to start with, and that's what Chara kind of mocked him for. I don't know. You know, it's one of those things that could they have suspended him for a game? Yeah. They went with the $5,000 fine, which is, yeah, all right. That being said, for Zdeno Chara, he gets that slap on the wrist. It's not even really a slap, though, is it? It's more of a. Anyways. Bobby Ryan. Bobby Ryan's return is apparently a couple weeks away, according to DJ Smith, the Ottawa Senators forward who left November 20th when he entered the NHLPA assistance program. So here's to hoping Ryan comes back as soon as possible. And we'll see whether that affects what they do at the deadline with another forward in the lineup potentially. Does that affect what they do in terms of rentals, or does it not matter? Do they just say, all right, we're just going to make our moves, and if Bobby's good, he's fine, that's great. If not, it doesn't affect things. So we'll see what happens. Speaking of players returning, Michael Furland plays tomorrow in Utica, so he's healthy. Could complicate things in Vancouver. There's already enough complaints about who is and isn't playing, and everybody's just decided Justin Bailey's fantastic, and all I can think is, it's a bit early, isn't it? Like, yes, he's been very good, but it's been a couple of games. One thing I've noticed with Vancouver fans over the years is that familiarity breeds contempt. So the longer a player's on the team, the less goodwill he seems to get from certain fans. And I'm saying certain because it's a minority. I know it's a minority. But you'll watch during the season as a guy that they're like, man, I love this guy. 20 games in, they're like, this guy's a bum. I don't know why we have him. And then, 40 games, it's like, yeah, this is stupid. Everybody should be fired. Yeah, but we've won 38 out of 40. Yeah, but still, that fourth line, though. Come on. That fourth line. Come on. Who puts that fourth line together? But they're winning. I don't care. Look at that fourth line. That's stupid. I was playing NHL 20. My fourth line's way better than that. So it's kind of what ends up happening. And it's strange. And I know it's not just in Vancouver. I know it happens everywhere. But one guy will come in and play a couple of games, and all of a sudden, oh, he's great. We should keep him forever. What? No, that's only a couple of games. Radulov in Dallas. He has been placed on the injured reserve with an upper body injury. So they've called up Jason Robertson. We'll see how that works out. Radulov offensively this year just hasn't been there for the most part. He's had a rough year. And I do think that Radulov and the Stars are going to head towards a divorce this summer. I would be very surprised, honestly, very surprised if he's still a Dallas Star next year. It is that, I don't know. I think they're going to move on from him. And again, I don't have any sources on the matter or anything. It just doesn't feel like that's a good fit, and they're going to have to do something with that core. Sagan's not getting goals. Radulov's not putting up points at the rate they'd like to. And Ben, he's been better lately, but he is getting older, and they may need to shake things up a little bit. So Ben and Sagan aren't going anywhere, so that would mean Radulov would be the one that would go. An ankle injury for Shesterkin keeps him out tonight. So Georgiev starts. It's noteworthy because the New York Rangers are on the verge of being in the race for a playoff spot. On the verge, maybe, potentially. Shesterkin's 6-1, so Georgiev's not. And I like Georgiev. That's where it gets weird. I like Georgiev. I think he's a good goaltender, but Shesterkin's been fantastic when he's played. Speaking of returns and injury news, Olofsson returns tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. So if you want to see them go on a run, it may start tonight. But it has to start tonight because this is a team that's, again, we're seeing a number of teams in the East that a GM might think they have a chance, and over the next 7 days, that chance may very well be rewarded, or that belief may be rewarded or punished. So we'll see which side of the fence the Rangers and the Buffaloes, or the Buffaloes, who are the Buffaloes? The Rangers and the Sabres, the Buffaloes. That would be so absolutely fantastically creative. Yeah, the New Yorks. Anyway, all right, Buffalo will get Olofsson back tonight. We'll see if that helps. It should definitely help their power play, I would think. Should give it a shot in the arm. It's needed that. Tampa's kind of rolling out the welcome mat for the Edmonton Oilers. How? Well, Kucherov, Cirelli, and Stamkos apparently are all out tonight. So there you go, Edmonton. That helps your chances just a little bit against Tampa Bay Lightning, a team that hasn't lost in regulation in 10 games. No Kucherov, no Cirelli, and no Stamkos. Kucherov's been fantastic lately, so I would expect that Edmonton has a much better chance right now than they did before those guys were all announced to be out. Of course, of the three, is Stamkos more important or Kucherov? My answer is yes. They are both more important. Bouwmeester, the prognosis is very positive. I'm wearing, of course, the St. Louis 90s throwback and I've been wearing St. Louis around the house, and when we went to hockey yesterday, I wore my Blues gear because, Bouwmeester. And the prognosis right now is very positive. They're running tests to find out exactly what happened. I still think his career is likely over. Those cardiac episodes, once you have a cardiac episode, whatever it is, whether it turns out that he had a full-on heart attack, and if they defibrillated him, it's a heart attack. There's no way around it. It was a heart attack. Now, how severe that was, that's something that they'll be testing and finding out about in coming days. But in my experience and everything that I've known through all my first aid training, if you defibrillate, it's a heart attack. That's it. They can call it a cardiac episode, but cardiac episode means heart attack. And there are varying forms, but that's cardiac arrest coming out of that. So that's, yeah, ouch. And thank God for the NHL having the safety that it has now, because every minute that goes by without a defibrillator, I know the odds of a person living through cardiac arrest drops. I want to say 20% with each minute, but it's big. So the fact that the NHL was has a medical setup now, thanks to scary incidents involving players like Rich Peverley and Yuri Fisher, it saves the life of Jay Bouwmeester. So fantastic. And the replay versus the Ducks will be a full 60-minute game. It will start with a score of 1-1. That was the score at the time that the game ended. I'm guessing that all of the stats put up till then will count. So the saves by the goaltenders and all that will then be tacked on as well. And it'll be replayed. Now, what Doug Armstrong said as well is the NHL may need to move a couple of other games around to accommodate for them being able to go out to Anaheim and play this game. So it'll be interesting to see whether that's a game in April that gets moved. Do they tack this on? I've seen before where a game gets postponed and it actually just gets tacked on to the very end of the season. So the NHL season ends on a Saturday night. Maybe that game ends up being on a Sunday. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's going to affect the schedule of both teams. And apparently there's going to be more labor talks next week. So where we're at, and this is per Elliot Friedman, the labor talks are in an interesting spot. So the NHL, I think, went to the IOC and said, we want all of this. And the IOC came back and said, all right, there you go. There's all your concessions, which the NHL likely didn't expect. The NHL doesn't really want to go to the Olympics. So they probably didn't expect that answer, to which they're like, oh, okay. All right then. And it sort of it reminds me of when I was in high school. There was this one girl I really liked. And every Friday I would ask her, "So what are you doing this weekend?" And I, I tried. And I was nice. We were friends. I knew she had no interest in me, but I thought, well, I'll see. Maybe at some point she'll want to hang out with me. It became a running joke where my friends would be like, "You're gonna ask her again, aren't you?" I'm like, "That's funny. She's so nice, but she lets me down in such a nice manner. I can't wait to hear what her excuse is today. This is gonna be great." So I walked up to her and I'm like, "Hey, so you wanna what are you doing on the weekend?" And she said, "Actually, my weekend's free. So if you want to do something, give me a call and we'll figure it out." And I'm like, "So tomorrow then, maybe?" And she goes, "Yeah, yeah, tomorrow works. Yeah, Saturday, sure. Give me a call." She walks away and I went back over to my friends and I'm like, "So she said yes." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't. What are we gonna do?" So we went skating. I was like, "All right, so we'll go skating, I guess." My friends were all thrown off. They're like, "She said yes?" So, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons could wait. I went skating instead. Again, never interested in me, but she was very nice about it. And it's always nice when you find a girl that says no, but she's so nice about it. And you get the feeling that the NHL and their Olympic relationships have kind of been like that. Like, hey guys, I know you guys are going to say no, but if you gave us these concessions, the IOC went, "Yeah, okay, sure. How does Saturday sound?" And the NHL's like, "Okay, I don't know what to do. They just said yes." And the problem with it is, if you're the NHL, you've already kind of told the players, "Hey, if we get these concessions, then we'll go to the Olympics." So the players are going, "So we're going to the Olympics." And the NHL's like, "Yeah." And the trick has been this: the NHL has said as well, they would be willing to go to the Olympics as long as the players tack on a couple of extra years onto the deal we currently have in the National Hockey League. So very interesting times, and we'll see what happens. And the NHL learned, don't ask too many times because eventually they might say yes. If you're not ready for that answer, maybe don't ask the question. But we'll see if the NHL is actually willing to come through on this and go to the Olympics because the players desperately want to go, and the IOC clearly wants NHL participation at the Winter Games. They gave them everything, so that's massive. They're not going to get that offer again either. So if they say, "Well, forget it," then the IOC is going to tell them, "All right, well, we called your bluff, and yeah, so we're not talking anymore." Shea Weber. So this is where things get interesting on this board. Yesterday, Nick Kypreos comes out and says, "I've got sources telling me that it is a foot issue with Shea Weber, and there's some swelling and all this." And then it comes out that he's going to it looks like it's a foot specialist in Wisconsin, right? And then then the Montreal Canadiens, within an hour or two, announce 4 to 6 weeks, high ankle sprain. Well, that's interesting because ankle sprain is what, a football player not that long ago, and Tim and Sid is talking about, "Hey, when I played football, very often I would have a broken bone and they just say it was a sprain. But a sprain and a break can be the same thing." So the other thing is the idea that, well, we don't trust Nick Kypreos, so he's a clown, but we trust the Montreal Canadiens are telling us the truth. Go and look over their injury history this year and how long a timeline they've given us with injuries and how long guys have actually been out. I didn't change that video, even the title, because 4 to 6 weeks, that's the season. If Montreal doesn't have a better result over the next 6 weeks, that's the end of the year. We've got 7 weeks from this Saturday until the end of the season. He comes back with 3 games left, they're probably already done. So this is where it gets tricky, is when people go, "Well, I believe the team." And the one that made me laugh was people going, "Oh, I believe the doctors, not rather than Nick Kypreos." What doctor came out and said it? It was the team coming out and announcing it. And if anything, it felt like the team was going, crap, well, we got to announce something now that Nick's put that out there. I do believe Nick Kypreos has sources. I've seen him on trade deadline day on Sportsnet breaking news before other people. I have seen him discussing things going on in locker rooms that were later proven to be true. So I believe his accuracy, and I find it strange that, again, and I know Twitter tends to be kind of a cesspool, but he does sometimes get this right. And it's funny how quickly people just went, "Oh, I believe the Habs." How long was Drew out for? Like, come on. Like, this is just, how long have guys been out? And they've told us, that guy will be out for a week. Never mind, it's going to be 3. Did we say 3? We meant 5. Teams lie all the time when it comes to injuries. It's what they do. It's how teams work. They will not tell you the truth. They don't want their opposition knowing. They don't want other general managers knowing. If you're Mark Bergevin, you don't want other general managers knowing. You have to make a deal. You don't want that. So you want to say, hey, he's okay. He's fine. He's fine. Now we're going to talk trade. The James kind of like, oh, you don't have Weber for good, do you? And that just changes the whole conversation. And you don't want fans to, give up hope either. So it's just bizarre to me how quickly people go, and we believe that side. I didn't say one or the other. I said could. I said he could be out for the year. And that's the thing. We'll see. If it's 6 weeks, why bring him back? Honest question. If it's 6 weeks and there's only a week left in the year, if Montreal's not in a playoff position, just let him rest it. It's obvious that Shea Weber, is a player who's going to have that injury every year. So why risk it? Seth Jones out to 8 to 10 weeks. Now, I reported a couple days ago it was indefinite. I said he's out indefinitely, and then people have been commenting on each News of the Day video lately like, Jones is 8 to 10 weeks, you're not reporting on it. Yeah, because it went from indefinitely to well after the regular season's done. So to me, they're both equal. Columbus has to learn to win without Seth Jones. So if he's out until mid-April, right? So if it's mid-April, we're already in the playoffs. They have to learn to play without him until the playoffs. So it's not really a matter of, it may be round 2. They may have to make round 2 for him to come back. So, Jones. The one thing about Columbus, there's an article on ESPN asking, how does Columbus keep winning? Simple answer. They're playing playoff hockey. They've been playing playoff hockey for months. And I give full credit to John Tortorella, who probably does end up being coach of the year, I would think, at this stage. I give full credit to their defense, their goaltending, and timely goal scoring as well. And to their trainers, to their pro scouts, to everybody who's helped them put together this really solid program where from top to bottom this team is really well put together. So for Columbus, absolutely excellent run this team's been on because they're playing playoff hockey. They are making you pay the price if you want to beat them. And they're one of a few teams in the NHL playing playoff hockey. Tampa's been doing that lately as well. Dallas is playing playoff hockey. And you know it when you see it, where you're like, this team is dialed in. The trick is this. It's February 13th today. The teams that are playing playoff hockey right now, can they keep that up until we're at the end of the year? Now, the one interesting tidbit about that is, last year we watched as all the top seeds went out. Part of the reason why all the teams that were at the top went out is because the teams that were at the bottom had to claw and scratch their way into the playoffs, and they'd been playing playoff hockey for months. So they didn't really have to ratchet it up. They'd already done so. And for the teams that were kind of, we're going to rest these guys for a couple of games. We're going to take a couple days off and rest. We're going to rest our starting goaltender. Suddenly it's playoff time. Now they've got to get back into it. And for the teams that have been just fight for the last 20, 25 games, maybe 30, well, they're already at that level. And for the top teams, sometimes you don't get to that level until it's too late. The last news that I'm going to mention today, and this is from Jeremy Roenick. This isn't a statement from NBC that I've seen yet, where he's learned he's not going to be brought back by NBC. So it may very well be that they're saying, we'll pay your contract, but we're going to leave you at home. And he's upset, and he posted a video about it, and he thinks it's a joke and all this, which isn't going to endear him to his corporate bosses. Corporations work this way, and I know people bring up all the other stuff with NBC, this is terrible. You know what we've learned in sports over the last few years is what I've always kind of suspected anyways. We're always going to watch sports. There were all these threats that, everybody's going to stop watching football now because of the kneeling scandal. And they didn't. And now you got people coming out all upset about Shakira and J-Lo singing songs from 20 years ago and doing their dance moves from 20 years ago, and now suddenly it's obscene. Whatever. And just all of the outrage that we see around sports. Sportsnet. People we're done with Sportsnet when they fired a lot of their on-air personalities last summer. and decided to try to go with the cheaper route. And then, the Don Cherry thing happens. Oh, where that's it. We're all done. Sportsnet's dead to us. But it hasn't really happened. We don't end up tuning out. So for all this NBC is dead to me, I don't think it's going to happen that way. We will still watch games. And I think that's something that they know, that Sportsnet, ESPN, NBC, TSN, anybody who broadcasts sports knows this. They know the on-air personality is pretty disposable. As horrible as it is to say that, no matter how long they're on the air, it's the sport that sells it. So as long as you still have all of this hockey to sell, Roenick not coming back, it likely doesn't make a difference in the viewership. Now, Roenick has a very committed base that like him a lot and enjoy him, and he will take them wherever he goes. He will have another job. I have no doubt in my mind. And according to him, after that lockout that took out a whole season, he said, I made my money. So I take that to mean he's pretty well off, which he should be. He was one of the best players of his time, especially at his peak. He was fantastic, and he made a lot of money. So Roenick, we'll see what happens from here with him. And again, for NBC, that's where they're at, and for him to come out and be upset, I understand. The tricky part is if you come off as being too bitter when one employer gets rid of you, it can be tougher to get a job with another one, because they're going to look at your social feed and go, oh, well, if he said that about them, what's he going to say about us if he does something that we have to? So it's definitely a slippery slope, and we'll see what happens from here. But hey, the hockey is what sells the game. That's ultimately what does it. And that's why the International Olympic Committee has come around, I think, because they realize that Olympic hockey, when you have NHLers in it, draws huge money and huge ratings. Absolutely huge. And as much fun as it is to watch a bunch of guys who, aren't quite NHL level going at it and fighting it out for a gold medal, and it is fun, it's better when it's National Hockey League players. And it would be great on this channel to be able to do that, because since the games are in China, that means that for that week I would be existing at a time where I'd be perfectly capable of doing live streams that people in Europe would love. They'd be like, wow, it's perfect for our time. And people in North America go, what, he's live streaming now? Like 3 a.m? So that would be kind of fun. All right, there's your very dense news of the day. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as I know people will. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. We are less than 2 weeks till trade deadline. Watch for trades to be happening. I would think today's a good day. Come on, let's go. Or tomorrow, because tonight we've got 22 teams in action, so that's 22 GMs who may have a reason to make a trade tomorrow. Thank you guys for all your support, for getting this channel to 133,000 subscribers. I will talk to you again soon.